Welcome back, aliens. My name is Navin Reddy, and let's continue the series on Python. Now, in the last video, we have talked about lambdas, right? We have talked about anonymous functions. We're still not confirmed where you will use it. Of course, we know the concept that we have a function without name. It should have only one expression. It can take multiple arguments. But hold on, where you will use it? So in this video, we will use three functions. One is filter, map, and reduce. Okay, and let's try to use this lambda there, and you will understand the importance of it. So to understand this, what I will do is I will take an example here. The example is, let's say if I have a list of values, I will say nums, and in this nums I have certain values. Let me just drop those values here. So we got these values here. Okay, I don't know how many numbers are even or odd. Of course, we can do some complex example here, but just to make it simple, just to keep it simple, let's go with this. So we got this number. I just want to check how many numbers are even. In fact, I want to fetch all the even numbers from this list. So I want to get a new list which is evens, and in this evens, okay, I don't know if it is a good name, evens, but it doesn't matter. So in this evens, I want to assign all the even numbers. Okay, how will you do that? Of course, you have to write a function, right? And then we have an inbuilt function in Python called as filter. Okay, so we have these functions. So what this filter will do is it will take the list from you, and it will filter those lists. It will give you the values. So you will say, hey, I want even numbers. Filter will say, okay, done. Okay, so filter will take the sequence and it will give you a sequence, but we want a list in return, right? So this filter will give you something. I want a list out of it, and that should work. But there's one problem here. When you say filter, how would filter know what values you want? Because see, we will pass nums. That's perfectly right. That's perfect. We will pass nums to our filter. That's a sequence, right? That's a list. But then how it will return? So what should be the condition, right? And that's why filter says, hey, you give me function. If I say control space here for filter, so filter takes two arguments. The first one is function, and second one is iterable, which is sequence in this case. But what function we are talking about? So what we do is we have to say is even function. So we are passing is even, but is it an inbuilt function? Of course not. So that means we need to define this function. So I will say def. I will define this function is even. I just went with this name because I'm not able to record any name here. And this is even takes a value, let's say the value is a or n, and this will return true or false. If that n is even number, it will return true. If that n is odd number, it will return false. Example, let's say if I give you a list of phones, and some phones are Android phones and some phones are non-Android phones, maybe Windows Phone, iOS, or BlackBerry. So if I give you those phones, your job is to filter it. Okay, so I will say, hey, filter based on Android, non-Android. So you will take the phone and you will say, okay, this is Android, keep it here. This is not Android, keep it there. So this is what we are doing. So in filter, this is what it does. So if it is true or false, depend upon true, it will give you the value. If it is false, it will not give you the value. So we'll say return I mod 2 is equal to 0. Okay, so if it is not I, n, how can I say I? So I will say n mod 2 is equal to 0. That's it. Okay, so this function returns a value true or false based on this expression, right? And this should work now, because if I print this evens, see the output. It gives you all the even numbers. So in the list you do have odd numbers. Oh, unfortunately we have only two odd numbers, but that's fine. Okay, so in the even numbers you can see in evens we only have even numbers now. So this thing filter takes two arguments. The first one is the function, where you will mention the logic, and second one is the list or the sequence. But don't you think this function here is only to be used here, right? See, normally when you talk about functions, we use functions so that it can be reusable. But look at this function. Don't you think this is a very customized function only for that purpose? And it only returns one value. So in that case, you can use lambda. So you want to know how to use lambda here? It's very simple. We don't need this function, because in this function we need only two things: the variable name n and the expression, right? So I don't want this. In this, so instead of using is even, we'll mention the function here itself. So you have to say lambda space, mention the variable name, which is n, or any variable name for that matter, give a colon, and mention the operation, which is n mod 2 is equal to 0. That's this. You are defining a function. So you're saying, so this is my sequence, which is list in this case, and this is my function. Based on that, filter it, and it works. Okay, so that's the beauty about lambda. So you can reduce the number of lines you are using, and it makes your code look cool, right? So that's what programmers do, right? Making things cool. Now let's try with map. So let's say we got all the even numbers, right? So in this we got all the even numbers. Now my job is to double all the values. So whatever even numbers you got, I want to double it. Or maybe I want to plus it to plus 2. So whatever even numbers we have, I want to say plus 2. So even numbers are 2, 6, 8. I want to say plus 2. So 2 should be 4, 6 should be 8, 8 should be 10. So that's what I want to do. Now whenever you want to change every value, we can use very simple concept called as map. Okay, now I don't know if you have ever heard about big data concepts, right? So when I was learning big data for the first time was when I was doing something with Google's MapReduce concept. This is what we do, you know. So we take the chunk of data and then we try to filter that data and then we map it and then we try to reduce it, okay? So this same concept can be implemented here. So if you have a bunch of values, filter out the values which you don't need and then apply some operation with the help of map. So what map does is it takes the value, apply some operation, maybe plus 2, multiply depending upon what you want, and then you can also use reduce function, which we'll see later. So if I give you a chunk of data, let's say if you want to add all the values, reduce. If you want to multiply all the values, reduce. If you want to find one value out of the chunk, you will use reduce. It can be sum, it can be any other logic, or maybe average, right? So here what I want to do is I want to double all the values. So I would say doubles, right? So we got evens and then we want to find doubles of it. So of course I want in the least format, and this time I don't want to filter it, I want to map, I want to change all the values. So I will say map, and in this I will pass evens. But then when you say map evens, you have to also pass one more thing, because map takes 2 arguments. So map takes a function and iterable, again the same problem, function. Now what function I'm talking about is the logic, right? So we can do that here. We can define a function. We will say update because it is updating the value. It will take n, and what you do is you have to just add 2, right? So you will say return n plus 2. So whatever value you are getting, you will simply say n plus 2, right? But and then we have to pass that update function here, right? So map takes 2 arguments, the function and the sequence, right? We are doing that here. But there's only one thing, right? I don't want to use this function because the only purpose of this function is to work with map, right? We will not be using this function anymore. So in that case, instead of doing that there, here itself we can say lambda, as we did before. We can say lambda n colon n plus 2, right? It's so simple. You can simply create an anonymous function or lambda here itself, right? So this works, we got double. And the last one is I want to perform reduce. I want to reduce all the values. Example, if I print this double first, let me just print doubles. So in this doubles, you will get the same stuff, but then you are saying plus 2. Oh, we were supposed to do double, right? So I have to say into 2, not plus 2. In fact, your logic, right? So you want to double it or you want to say plus 2. But since then by mistake I have taken the name double, so I will make it double. Let's run this and you can see we got 4, 12, 16, 8, 12 and 4. That perfectly works. But now what I want to do is I want to reduce the value. So instead of having multiple values, I want only one value. I want to add all these values, right? Now technically when you add values, how we do it is you simply say, okay, 4 plus 12 is 16, 16 plus 16 is 32, 32 plus 8 is 40, 40 plus 12 is, I mean, the list goes on, right? So you at one time you only add 2 values. Even if I give you 10 values, you will add 2 values at a time. That's important. So how will you do it? And that's where we will use reduce. So I will say sum is equal to, of course I'm not expecting multiple values here, I'm expecting only one value, that's why I will not be using list. So I will use a function called as reduce. But the problem is that you can see it says no suggestion, that means we are not able to use reduce. The thing is, this reduce function, it belongs to a module called as function tools or func tool. So I will say from func tools import reduce, because we want to work with reduce, right? And then we can say, now we can perform this operation, so we can say reduce, and now reduce, if I say control space, oh, reduce also takes 2 things, okay? The thing is, we have to pass 2 things, right? The first one is the function, okay, the logic, of course, because it depends upon what you want to do. Maybe you want to add all the numbers, maybe you want to multiply all the numbers. So you have to pass a function, and then you want to pass a sequence. So sequence is there in doubles, because I want to add all the values of doubles. But I also need to specify, okay, what I did, I just made a mistake there. Okay, and then this you have to pass a function. Now what function I'm talking about? So what I will do is, here I will create a function which is def, and I will call this function as add all. Of course you can use any function name, and this will take 2 parameters. Okay, so when you say a function for reduce, it will always take two values at a time. So I will say a comma b, and here with those 2 values, See, it doesn't matter what you want to do, you always take two at a time. So you will say a plus b. Depending upon what logic you write here, it will do that. And here you have to pass add all. Okay, that's what you do. So in reduce, you pass two parameters, function and sequence. And now instead of printing double, I will print sum. Okay, we got an error. Okay, my bad. Okay, so I'm doing reduce inside of reduce. My bad. What's wrong with me? Okay, you can see we got the output which is 56. Okay, you have to trust me at this point, it should be 56. So now let's use lambda here, right? So instead of doing this, let's use lambda. So in lambda, what you will do is, you will again, instead of using add all, you will say lambda. Now you need two parameters, right? You will say a comma b, and you will say a plus b. So it will take two values at a time. So when you say you have doubles, let me also print doubles here because I want to show you how it will add those two values. And we don't need add all function now. Let's run this code, and you can see it is finding double of all this. It is adding all these values, right? At one time it will add 4 and 12, which is 16, and then that 16 will be added with another 16, right? And then it will be added with 8, and then 12, and then 4, right? That's the sequence it follows. So at one point it will take two values, and that's what reduce is doing. So that's how we work with filter, map, and reduce with the help of lambda. Okay, you can say lambda expression or lambda function, your choice. So I hope you understood something from this topic. Try it out, practice, because this is not that easy. So let me know in the comment section if you're facing some issues, and do subscribe for further videos. Bye bye.